You guys all ready? Yeah. David Jackson, D-A-V-I-D, J-A-C-K-S-O-N, captain of the media unit for the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. We called you guys here today to kind of give an update on Sunday, February 8th. We had 3 homicides in 6 hours in Kansas City, Missouri. And we know that Sunday mornings are kind of for coverage, so we just wanted to follow up with you guys today, let you know where we are on those cases, in order to be as transparent as possible, as well as investigation and not get into specifics on an open investigations. Them were connected. None of them were related way. As of this morning, 23 homicides for 2021. At this time, we were at 26 homicides. So those are some of the background of what we're talking today. Obviously, 3 homicides in one day is noteworthy and tragic for our city. Of these 3 homicides, I cannot be specific about which one of these to which, but we had 3 very distinct situations. They are 3 situations that we see over and over around the country that we have seen historically in Kansas City. One of these homicides we believe, has a nexus to activity. One of these homicides, we believe, is related to and has a nexus to mental health issues. And one of these homicides is related to and has a nexus of domestic violence. And each one of those 3 things has entire professions dedicated just to investigate or help people with those issues: narcotics, social services for to get out of domestic violence situations. The police, all of that comes to the police, and we investigate all of those things. And we task our officers, detectives, support staff with being knowledgeable and able to solve all of these issues. And although yesterday was tragic, we do think that it highlights some of the challenges that we're seeing in our city. With all of that said, the police department, policing as a profession, is one part of the criminal justice system. Our part of that system is basically limited to the time somebody calls 911 and the time we present a case file to the prosecutors. We don't put people, we don't take people that are on parole and revoke or send them back to jail. We don't jail. Those are Department of Corrections, probation and parole, prosecutors, judges, defense attorneys. All of those things are part of the criminal justice system. We do not create the laws. We take the laws that are to us and try to enforcement aspect of that. We are one part. At this point, I'm not ready to give an update on the victims' names. We think that we have identified in all of these cases. However, we also have to do next of kin. Also have to get clarification on some, due to the volume and the amount of resources we have available. Covered these enough to know generally same, and just due to the volume that we have able to do it at this time. So with that, I will take questions.
So Dave, if somebody's in a domestic situation or a mental health situation or something and they don't know who to call, if they do call and say, I'm in a dangerous situation or I'm worried or anything like that, have the resources to help them from there?
Great question. Thank you. Yes, we do. We have the ability to kind of outsource some of this, and I don't want to use the exact names of who we partner with, but we do partner with domestic violence shelters We partner with specific advocacy groups for that. Most definitely, when you and you're in a domestic situation, we can facilitate that. What we would like to do is, or what we would like to reach out to victims or people that are in a precarious position right now, is don't wait until you need to call 911. It is not better. Get out while you are safe, and reaching out to these groups. If you call any of our division stations, if you called 911 to know the phone number, do that. We can facilitate it multiple different ways. We have some on our website. Any of that. We want you to get out today before it gets to something that is so dangerous that you feel like you need to call 911 and have a police officer right now.
Can you tell me about your lethality?
So what we have is a lethality assessment report, and when we are on the scene of a domestic violence situation, we ask a series of questions. We ask the victim, we try to facilitate this in a safe environment where they're not under duress, a series of questions. How long, basically, in a nutshell, how long has this been going on? What's the level of violence? What's the level of control? Are there firearms? Is the suspect of this control you in these certain ways? And what we do is create, I say we, with our partners have been able to create a quality assessment of here's what's been going on in this, and based on our experience, this is your level of danger to get you out of that situation.
Was in the domestic violence that was over the weekend, was that something, had you been in those people before, you know?
I do not believe we were involved in this. It was a different aspect than an ongoing. It had, like I said, a domestic violence nexus, but not maybe in the traditional sense that of a person in a relationship.
Okay, so, and you've said that the people that are experiencing violence can call 911. What about if somebody's having a mental break or something like that? Do you have for?
So we have an entire also crisis intervention team trained to be a little bit more proactive than we were 6 years ago or 5 years ago. It was a program that we've kind of implemented in 15 years. It's really gotten a lot stronger over the last few years, where we are seeing our officers to recognize mental health issues on a, recognize the types of medication that would be an indication that somebody is having a mental health background, and then facilitate the appropriate resources to get them help, whether that's through their casework, new medications, whatever that might be, to kind of help them work through some situations.
In any of these situations, somebody had called earlier and you were able to intervene earlier, could it have stopped situations, do you believe?
I think that's definitely right. I think that what we need is when these underlying issues come to a level of conflict, what we over and over in all of these investigations have one thing in common, for the most part, and that is really poor conflict resolution. Whether that's for whatever reason, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's mental health, whether you're involved in illegal activity and you just don't see a way that you can get any help because you're involved in illegal activity. What ends up happening is it gets to a boiling point, and then there's a conflict or an argument, and a point where this comes together, and then some people have chosen to use physical force and violence to solve that conflict. And that's what we see over and over, is people who are choosing to solve these problems with physical violence, whether it's firearms, knives, fists, bats. We've seen just about all of them, but it is a ongoing lack of conflict resolution. The police department, we would love to partner or be a part of all of that, but it's not really, we are not the best advocates for conflict resolution skills. There are not-for-profit groups and things out there, social agencies, counseling agencies that are out there that do this for a living, that are professionals. I would encourage anybody to get in touch with some of these agencies.
But if someone's in a situation like that, they're not necessarily having the time or the wherewithal to get on their phone and find the right agency and do their research, so they can call 911.
And that's whereas we try to do our best, we're part of this. And so what happens is people have these complex mental health issues. We are happy to try to assist them, but we are not mental health professionals. People have substance abuse issues. We can put them in touch with the right people. They're not substance abuse counselors. People are in domestic violence situations. We can facilitate getting you in touch with some of our social services, for example, workers. We can help facilitate some of that, but we are not domestic counselors. We are literally on to the next call. That's our portion of this. We have kind of become the clear for all of these things that we are willing to do. It's just difficult for us to do all of them.
Right, but the police department is a safe place to come or call and say, I'm having a problem, and you guys can help these people get in touch with people that
Most
can.
definitely.
Right, okay.
Most definitely. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Sure.
But, I detect a level of frustration almost, maybe in personal accountability for people. Is it?
Look, I would stay away from frustration. We are paid professionals. We are professionals. We do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't really ever feel frustrated. I want what's best for the folks that are involved in this. And if we can maybe communicate to them some better avenues to get better results and be more effective and efficient with services, I think maybe that's a better way of explaining what's going on here. We want what's best. I can tell you that the police department wants what's best for the citizens of this city. Shooting people is not it. It is, to your point, the most efficient way to get services is to call 911 and have a cop show up. I think that what we're saying is, historically speaking, it's not the most effective and efficient way to getting services to people, the services that they need. And that's what we're trying to maybe educate people or assist people in getting those services there. So I hope I'm not frustrated, and I appreciate the question. I just want to advocate for the citizens to get them involved in things that can be helpful for them.
When I look at I think you said last year we were at 26 homicides, this year at 23. They're trending along the same way. Last year was a record, this year seems to be going the same way. Something has to change.
So I think that's right. And like I said, we are one part of that, and I think that we want to be part of that conversation. I just don't think that we have the bandwidth to solve this problem. This problem is nationwide, as you guys know. You guys report on this. You know where the shootings and the homicides are nationwide. I don't think it's particularly complex. Don't use physical violence to solve your argument. It doesn't, maybe I'm oversimplifying it. I kind of get that, but we're not doing it in Kansas City and throughout the country.
So how can the police department become more proactive than reactive? Because when you're called to 3 homicides in one day, that's reactive to the crime, right?
I think you're totally right, and I think that being proactive is becoming more and more difficult. We're being stretched thinner and thinner. Much documentation has been made about where our numbers are, where they were a few years ago, the direction that they're heading. It's really not a matter of people or personalities, it's a matter of math, right? As people leave and they're not replaced, our bandwidth to be proactive becomes less and less. They're answering calls for service. They're investigating increased amount of crimes, so the detectives, usually by this time, you guys cover this, usually by this time I'd be able to tell you the victim's name in all three of these. They are stretched thin. And that's the reality of the situation. We would love to be more proactive. We do, obviously, these things, and we've identified some of these issues. I just don't know if the police department is the right ones to administer some of the follow-up.
Are any of these agents, so that when you contact them, someone, they say we can't right now? Or?
I suspect you're right, yeah. Being able to visits, being able to get out. I think that we've all recognized that a lot can be done on Zoom calls, but it is certainly not the same as engaging with somebody that's going through a mental health crisis or a domestic relationship. You've really got to get out there and be in person with them. And to some degree, that's right, but COVID isn't stopping people from hurting each other. So I would make that point as well. Anything else? Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.